easy and lucrative. Denton Little's Deathdate is a dark comedy. The premise is this: what if we lived in a world where everybody knew the day they were going to die? A world where you get to attend your own funeral and hear people's eulogies about you and even deliver a self-eulogy, getting full closure on your own life. A world where death is more matter of fact. You gonna be at that party next week? No, man. Oh, right, you're gonna be dead. I'm so sorry. No worries. I originally thought of this premise not because I think about death all the time, although I often do, but because I think about time all the time. I'm someone who remembers a lot of dates, who's always cataloging life experiences by the date and year that they happened. You know, I'll say to my wife, 3 years ago today we were at that party for your cousin's 60th birthday. Crazy that it's been 3 years. And because my wife is kind, she'll pretend that's of interest to her and say, oh, wow, that kind of thing. And so I thought, what if I could catalog my life based on a date that has not happened yet? How would it change the way I lived if I knew exactly how much time I had left? Thus, this story was born of a guy named Denton Little, who's always known that he is going to die tomorrow. I had the title and the premise 3 years, actually, before I started writing this book. Back then, I was thinking of it as a screenplay. Denton Little and his friends were all in their 20s, as I was then. I thought maybe I would act in it. But the idea, like so many others, just sat on the shelf of my brain, collecting dust. Until April 2011, when, still lost and adrift and very confused about what to do with my life, I read The Hunger Games. I loved it. And I thought, what if there was a book that was just as story-driven and just as extreme a situation for its protagonist, but that could also make you laugh? Immediately after which I thought, what if I took that idea I had, changed Denton's age from mid-20s to his teens, and wrote it as a young adult novel? Immediately after which I thought, are you crazy? You don't know how to write a book. But I started anyway. I almost didn't have a choice. I needed a creative outlet for all the feelings I had about my dead-end career, about the choices I'd made that hadn't panned out the way I thought they would, about the fact that I just had an argument with a lady who worked at TD Bank because they'd taken $15 out of my bank account after I'd let it dip down under 100. It's a sobering moment. And so I wrote Denton. In between my part-time jobs, playing rock and roll music classes for babies, cater waitering, and rehearsing for various things I continue to act in for close to no money, I would write, mainly in coffee shops, trying to string together 1,000 words a day, which was advice I'd gotten from Stephen King. Not directly. I got it from this book on writing. What do you guys think? I knew Stephen King for a moment. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely empowered in my own life. Absolutely no one had asked me to write this book. I was just doing it for myself. And I was having fun. I could make decisions for myself when I wanted to start writing, when I wanted to stop writing, what I wanted Dent to do, what I didn't want Dent to do. And whether I realized it or not, my own story started to directly infuse itself into Denton's, whose journey became one of a sweet, sarcastic, self-aware teenage boy who, even though he's always known that he's going to die at age 17, has never fully taken control of his own life. The comedic back and forth I had with my best friend Ray in our UCB comedy show became a huge inspiration for the comedic back and forth between Denton and his best friend Paolo. My love for teen dramas and Back to the Future and Harry Potter and the weirdness of TV shows like Lost, and maybe even those chocolate spots from that performance of Chocolate Fever I did in 4th grade, all poured into the story. And some other things were unexpectedly influencing my writing too. The untimely death of my aunt when I was in 9th grade. The mystery illness that my father had been dealing with for years. Though this book is 100% meant to be a funny book, it's a funny book that contains huge chunks of my heart. That might have been a gross way to say that, sorry. I think so often humorous books get unfairly classified as being trivial or lesser, but as Oscar Wilde said, life is too important to be taken seriously. And that's how I feel. I don't see my life separated into the funny parts and the dramatic parts. It's all happening simultaneously. Early in the book, Denton, who has no idea how he's going to die, receives a death threat in the mail. I'm not sure what's more unsettling, Denton thinks, the message's content or that the font is Comic Sans. It's easy to write off laughter as being just an escape, but I think it's also an opening up. I think back to when I read The Stinky Cheese Man and what an impact that had on me. how it cracked me up, but also offered me a new way to think about life. Fairy tales don't always have happy endings, and maybe they don't need to. Because if you're laughing, does it really matter what's happening? All of my closest relationships are built on a foundation of laughing at the same things. What's more powerful than that? So I hope teenagers will crack up when they read Denton, but because maybe laughing will open them up to the bigger ideas. Maybe they'll think more deeply about how they'd like to be living their lives.